Where have you?
All set to go.
Hell yeah, guys! Thank you so much. For people that maybe don't recognize your face or voice, who the hell are you guys?
Venerea!
Venerea.
Hell yeah, Venerea! You know Quebec and that project. There's a huge love affair. We love you guys. We missed you a lot. Can't wait to have you here. But now there's new music. But before we go with the new records, maybe let's go back in time, doing a little recap for people that don't know the history of Venerea, how the project started up, how that crazy idea started up in Sweden.
All right, we'll leave that to the dinosaurs of the band, I think.
You started. You started it.
Yeah, I started it, and we started up with playing covers, plainly, with old punk rock bands like Poison ID, Ramones, The Clash, I think.
Bad Religion, Hard-Ons.
Yeah. And I think we had a few beers, just had a good laugh, and played music.
And that was when?
That was in 91, I think, or 90.
1991, yeah.
Yeah.
And the scene was so different at that time. There was not like there was no band exploding around the world at that time. Punk rock was kind of fresh and new in Sweden, even if it's going since the 80s. But the 90s punk rock was just about to explode. How was the scene at that time? Was there a lot of band? Was there a lot of people at the show?
We played locally in Falkenberg up the coast where we came from. And because there was nothing else to do in town, we had a pretty good following, like guys from our school and such. And then by and by, we noticed that a couple of other bands were doing punk in English in like Satanic Surfers in Malmö and a lot of people further north. So we started playing with each other a little bit and sort of connected the dots on the huge Swedish map. But there wasn't really a live scene at that point, and still isn't really.
Maybe
Yeah,
there was
it's great to hear that.
some kind of punk scene, I think there was.
There was a
but it
sort
was
of
so
big
many-
Swedish punk,
Yes.
people singing in Swedish. Lots of punk festivals, mainly up north, but and way up north there was a bigger hardcore scene than there was in the south where we're from. But yeah, mostly Swedish punk that we heard around us when we grew up, I suppose. Yeah.
And you know, when you release, I think it was an EP called Yulu Baloo, if I'm right. I'm sure you guys didn't expect that, you know, you're gonna conquer like the world with that music and be known everywhere.
We were surprised that anyone invited us outside of our city, to be frank, because that was absolute shit of a record. But we made another one and it got slightly better. So then things started to happen.
It's funny because like it sell like a lot, you know, it's high price on eBay and maybe on Discog. And, like people paid a high price for something maybe not that well recorded, but you know, you were teens, didn't have money back in the days. It's kind of normal, but the songs are still jams. You know, you feel that there's something in it.
Yeah, we had fun. I think you can hear that.
Yeah, because
But you
Texas
can
is really
listen to
fun.
teens partying and have a lot of fun as well. So it's the expensive equivalent. 20 minutes of farts.
And then when you released the first record, punk was everywhere. Like you know, the classic thing happened with Epitaph, like The Offspring, and after that, Rancid, and all those bands like got, you know, punk rock on map. Was there's any impact in Sweden at that time because you were so far away and like you said, there was not a big scene at the beginning of the 80s.
I think it's like you said, it kind of exploded in 1994, or maybe further into 95. At least at the West Coast where we were from, it was a period of a couple of years where every small town had a bunch of skate punk bands playing. So there were a couple of years when the shows was really good, and there were a lot of bands around playing.
And some of us, like No Fun at All and Millencolin, and like I said, Satanic Surfers, Adhesive, had started a couple of years earlier. So we weren't on, week one of rehearsing when punk sort of broke through. We'd already gone through the worst bits. And some of us, at least, had found some sort of a sound of our own. But that was fairly similar to what was starting to pop up on, on the radio and TV. So it was good timing for us.
And it's kind of weird when you think about it, because we're two different culture, but we have so much connection with Sweden. Like Quebec is such dedicated fan to the Sweden scene, and I always ask to Ben, the history of the scene at that time, because I'm always surprised, because we felt that it was so big, like the US, because we're so close with the US that we really felt that the scene explodes the same with Melancholy, and like you said, with No Fun at All getting an epitaph. Like, okay, those guys are, when we were a kid, like, okay, they gotta do big thing, and then the reality is pretty different.
Yeah, like I said, there were I think maybe 1 or 2 years where it kind of boomed out, but then it, sort of died again, more or less. But there were a lot of bands, and I think Sweden in general has a history of it's easy for kids to start playing music. There's youth clubs and services around that, so it's easy to get a rehearsal space without paying too much money. So it's something
without paying any money when you're that age.
It's easy to get into playing music, and I think maybe that's a reason why there's a lot of bands coming out of Sweden successfully, because they've been doing it since they were 12.
So if you're at school, if you're like 12 years old and there's 5 of you, and you say, we want to start a band, they'll basically throw guitars and drums on you and give you somewhere to play and like, do it. And you don't have to pay anything.
More or less.
Yeah, more or less. But there's ample opportunity to rehearse and play, but not much in the way of playing live.
Yeah.
Because like alcohol policy and so on.
Yeah, we have so much, like it's like here, I think, there's again, I repeat, there's a huge connection. Here it's maybe easy to start a band, but it's tough to get out of your town, and I think it's the main thing around the world where and in Canada it's so much pain in the ass to cover, long ride, a lot of costing, gas money and everything, so it's hard for band to do like those 5 years, which is really hard, and then getting slowly to it. But the good thing is, even if punk rock fall out, at the beginning of 2004, 2005 for a couple of years, I think a lot of people, because there was so much record release in the 90s that a lot, had passed under the radar. And I think that Venerea were known, but not well known. But with time, I think people really took the time to discovering you guys and realize the impact that you had, and those great songs and that energy that you have that were very special.
Well, if you don't have hits or talent, you need stamina. So finally, the time is ours. What other people will learn in 2 weeks, we can learn in 20 years.
Yeah.
But we'll get there.
It's dedication, success.
Yeah.
Slow and steady.
A lot of losing money in the process. So, with the lineup, you released the new records. It's crazy. I said it at the beginning. I love the records. I listen to it a lot. What I enjoy is there's a lot of stuff. I think you went to every era of Venerea. Was it something that came naturally, or it was something that you really wanted to do?
Well, I think we just had a bunch of riffs, and then we just had more time to rehearsal, I think, and we met up with John. He contacted us, I think via Facebook or something.
Yeah.
And then we tried out to rehearsal with him, and we had fun. And then we start finalizing the songs, and here we are.
Yeah, more or less.
More or less. Yes.
Also, we had a pandemic that made us that we could rehearsal every day, and not every day, but more rehearsal than we used to do, probably. And that also made okay, we don't know what's happening in the future. Just do some bunch of songs and try to figure out what we can do after the pandemic, and let's see what we have after that one.
Mm.
Yeah, and it was a conscious decision to make a punky record with sort of lots of songs and shorter songs, faster songs, and to also do some stuff that was we started doing in the 90s, so that and from pretty much every record since the 90s, there's been a bunch of tracks that we thought were good, but we sort of never could finish somehow, so we rearranged them. So that's why I think the new record sounds a bit like a compilation record, sort of, because there's stuff from every part of our career, so to speak. And we've never changed that much sonically anyway. But but yeah.
It's brilliant because as a band you evolve, and it's normal. It's as you musician you want to do something else, but keeping a couple of songs of every era, it brings that energy and that mentality that you guys had at that times, and redoing it creates something very cool. Because right now I think nostalgia is driving the scene. There's new people at shows, there's kids at shows, because we were nostalgic during the pandemic, and we were telling to our kids, oh, in our time the punk rock scene and punk rock, and listen to that and check out that band. And so I think there's something really special happening right now, and it's cool to have that soundtrack. And I think that punk rock is the best soundtrack right now, and I think that records prove it, because it's really working. People love it. I've got so much comment and requests for song from the new records here in Quebec. So it's so cool, man. People dig it. They love it because of the energy that you guys save through every era of the band.
Great.
Keep it in the box.
Brilliant.
But yeah, I think since punk rock is one thing, but not even rock and roll. Any kind of rock music is like in the charts nowadays. So if you're into any kind of rock and roll, nostalgia is a factor, because it isn't like the current music, really, looking at mainstream music at least. So there's a kernel of nostalgia in it. And but I think punk is timeless music, basically. That's why once it started with the Ramones or whatever, since then it is never, this punk's not dead poster I see behind you, and it's never going to die, because it's like AC/DC or something. There's always going to be, it's such a basic, great rock formula. It's never going to be not exciting, as long as you're having fun doing it. Well, my 2 cents.
Oh, it's so true. You're right. You're right. Amen. You're right. Because, even if people thought back in the days it was really simple, it's more complex than we realize, and there's so much way. And like you said, just putting your energy and your personality and accepting who you are, not playing a game in that crazy society. Yeah, it brings a lot of people, and it gave them a voice. And I think it's more important than ever, because there's so much hate right now. And what you guys did, it took a situation, the pandemic, that was really negative, and change it into something positive by creating something. And it really inspired people. And I'm always so I love it when bands still going and pushing themselves. At our age, maybe you guys are more near than your 50s than me. I'm just starting the 40s, but we're getting old. But punk rock keep us young, and people realize it more than ever since we've been inside for 2 years.
True that.
Amen.
So how's going to be the rest of the years for Venerea? Of course, you see me coming with that questions. When we're going to see Venerea in Quebec again? So what's the plan?
As soon as someone asks us, we'll jump on a plane.
More or less.
Guys, we need to do this.
We had a great time in Tony's garden a couple of years ago, and we'd love to bring our other friends with us next time. So
Yeah.
let's come back.
And how did you met Anthony?
I
think
He just reached out to us asking if we want to play at his summer pool party.
I think he'd taken it upon him to re-release Shake Your Booty on CD.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe another one as well, but to start with, I think Shake Your Booty.
Yeah.
And it was part of that, I think.
Did you find surreal? Because I'm sure you guys, that I love that records, but it's like I said, you were young, you didn't have a lot of money. But is it surreal when you see those label re-releasing records and people just get nuts? I love it.
No, it's great. I mean, I love lots of records that other bands did when they were teenagers, even though they don't necessarily play those songs live anymore. There's a certain youthful enthusiasm which counts for something, and I don't mind stupidity. I can be ashamed of my own, but I can like it in others. So yeah, it's fine. It's it sounds good, that record, and I get it. It's
cool.
Fun and silly.
There's so much collectors out there, so it's cool to see. Back in the days it was pretty different, but now like they're really rushing themselves to find everything. It's so cool to see that they really take the scene on their shoulder in a way, because we need them. Like if you have a music budget and you want to help the band, it's really important.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're grateful.
And what's the best way to grab the records? If people want to buy it in Quebec, what's the best way to directly encourage you guys?
From Bandcamp, I guess, if you want to buy it digitally, we've got some copies left of the vinyl.
Yeah.
And some CDs are coming, I hear.
Yeah.
So, yes, you can contact us on our Facebook page or something.
I don't know about distro in Northern America at the moment. There should be.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure who distributes it in America, to be honest.
We can check it out, because
Yeah,
it would be nice to have it.
Yeah, but I don't know if Spam does it worldwide or just Europe. I don't know, actually.
I think they worldwide, but
I think they're worldwide. Yeah.
But they'll ship it.
Yeah.
There should be distribution in some way. We'll check that out.
We will post it, of course. And do you remember, guys, the first time you came around Quebec?
Was that the Montebello Fest?
Yep.
Should be, yeah.
Montebello.
2016, I think. Yep.
Yeah.
17?
Yeah.
16, 17?
16.
16.
Yeah, I did work for the Rockfest for 8 years, and I remember you were one of the first name I dropped. Like, we need to get Venerea if there's a reunion, anything. And
Oh, that was you?
Alex
Oh.
Martel was like, not sure, man, not sure. And it took me like 5 or 6 years, and then you said, okay, let's bring them. If there's no people, I will. It's the end of your career with me. And then, you know, people get nuts. It was crazy. I remember clearly that show.
So you're
It
still
was,
working then?
It was a great
and,
show.
and it's funny because like Montebello, it's such a small village. So I think the first thing you saw was Montreal. You arrived in Montreal.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then a village of 960 people living there, and then
Yeah.
like thousands and thousands of punk rockers like
Yeah.
ripping up the city.
We lost all our gear.
Yeah.
In Amsterdam.
We didn't have any instruments. Everything was left in Amsterdam. So we had
Oh.
to lend guitars and basses for the show. We
Oh
got
my-
every day after.
Yeah, I think it happened.
Yeah.
One of the guys a brace fist, like he didn't have his gear or something, and they had to cancel or something like that.
We don't cancel. We'll play the kazoo if we have to.
Yeah.
That's the spirit. We're gonna play a cappella if we don't have our instrument.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, like you said, there's no Europe tour, anything. So we invite, of course, the bookers. We want Venerea everywhere. I'm sure there's so much people waiting for that because it's rare. It's like collector. It's rare. You have to go.
Great. Well, we have a European tour in May with Satanic Surfers, and there's a couple of festivals in Europe also, but we'd love to come to Canada.
Yeah.
We'll fit you in.
We'll figure out something. Make sure I'm gonna call Anthony and, you know, like convincing to lose much more money on you guys.
Yeah.
But we will learn something, of course, because there's so much great festival. I'm sure you heard about the Red Bridge.
Yep.
It's a great festival. It's near Quebec. And yeah, and do a show, of course, in Quebec, because you're gonna love it. It's really European. And yeah, since you never came in Quebec City, that will be so great. So again, my friend bookers, write to them and let's work something. And guys, congratulations with the records. It's fresh. It's so cool to have you back. And like I said, we miss you a lot. So hell yeah, man. I hope there's a future after that, and maybe new song on the air.
Cool. Thank you.
And before we leave, can you do us a quick ID? Just simple, just saying this is, and you listen to Prescription Punk Rock.
All right.
All of us, or
That's going to be tricky.
Chaos. All of you. All of Chaos.
okej,
Ja,
på
just-
1, 2, 3, 4. Vi är Venerea, ni lyssnar på fast på engelska.
Yeah. Prescription.
Ja.
It's a weird.
1, 2, 3, 4. We are Venerea, and you're listening to Prescription Punk Rock.
You fucking nail it. You guys, you knew you're gonna nail it first time. You were playing me.
I didn't
You
do
did.
it. Yeah.
You mean the world. I repeat myself. I'm a huge fan since so many years, and it was nice to meet two of you, but can't wait to meet all of you. And I'm really dead serious. I'm gonna work my ass to get you back here. It happened one time. We can do it twice and make it a little tour of Quebec.
Yeah.
Great.
Please do.
Awesome.
Looking forward.
And coffee's gonna be on me in the morning, and beer's gonna be on me. And we're huge. I'm a geek beer fans. I love my crew beer, so we have a lot of stuff here.
Ooh,
Nice.
Awesome.
Tempting.
Super.
Real nice.
I don't know if you guys are to micro beer or more commercial beer.
All beer.
All
Exactly.
beer.
Gin.
I love it. That's the spirit.
Yeah.
So, guys, thank you for your time. I know it's pretty late for you here. I'm still drinking my morning coffee. It's
Now we're gonna have some good night coffees later on. So
and thank you so much. I'm gonna do. The radio station is closed next week, but in 2 weeks we're gonna hear the interview. I'm gonna send all the details. It's not a podcast show. We're live in the studio, but we have the podcast available right after the show. I'm gonna send all the detail podcast, and I'm gonna make the interview available online in a couple of weeks.
Perfect.
Nice.
Thank you.
Hell yeah! Thank you,
Bye.
Venerea. Thank you, guys.
See
Thank
you
you so
soon, I hope.
see you in Quebec.
Yeah, see you in Quebec.
much.
Bye.
Live long and prosper.
Hell yeah!